Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Aeons. Welcome to Strange Aeons Radio, episode number 34. What do you think of that, you guys?
Whoa, 34.
Hey, you're getting the numbers down.
I'm getting the numbers down. We've had a request to make sure the numbers are clearly put on the episode titles and all that. So I'm doing that right now. Episode 34. And I wanted to point out, Eric, I had asked you about some of the numbers. We just moved to Launchpad DM, which was a new podcast host for us.
Yeah.
And they're kind of a big one. They're powered by Podcast One. I wanted to see if we had seen any kind of numbers increase since then. And the number you gave me was, well, for me, shockingly high.
Yeah.
Considering the number prior to moving to there, I thought was very high. And then we doubled it.
Yeah. In 1 month, we've done 40 to 48% of what we did the entire time we were on SoundCloud.
Oh my gosh.
And that doesn't, and excuse me.
This is why it's this amazing speaking voice where you cough and
conversation.
It's but Podcast One only has our Strange Aeon episodes. SoundCloud had all the Dead Again episodes and everything like that.
What's Dead Again?
So yeah, what's that?
Yeah, some of you know.
That was a practice run for this.
Yeah, we did about 10 or 15 episodes of that. So those were all counted in that total as well from SoundCloud. So with less podcasts, we've got a big jump percent-wise.
Yeah, and that's thanks not just to that, but to everybody listening who shares and talks about us. And I think that a big part of that is adding Vanessa to the team.
Definitely. You guys are the real heart of this show.
Well, I think we reached a lot of geeks as two chubby late 40s, early 50s guys do.
Sure.
But
I'm bringing in the youth. Is that what you're saying?
But then, anyhow, with all of this, I thought that it might be smart to kind of explain what the podcast is and why it's called Strange Aeons, because it has changed quite a bit. Originally, this was called Dead Again, and we were doing a podcast where we talked about a film and then we tried to match it with another film that would go great with it. And it turned out that there was another podcast that was doing that much, much better than we were.
No.
Yeah, this is true.
And so we switched it up and decided to do this kind of game where we, throw out a genre and we all have to come out and talk about it and everything. Yes. The whole reason it's called Strange Aeons Radio is because years ago I started a magazine with Rick Tillman called Strange Aeons, which was kind of a mashup of heavy metal and Weird Tales magazine. It had comics and reviews and fiction, all that stuff. And we used Lovecraft's words, Strange Aeons, because there was a heavy Lovecraft slant to a lot of it, or at least weird or cosmic fiction. But we also wanted to make it open to fantasy and other genres, things like that. And then when we pushed it onto this, it felt right because that's the kind of stuff we talk about. Although we've lightened up considerably on the Lovecraft stuff.
Yeah, it's true. But then, we got the Lovecraft Festival coming up. So I'm sure we'll do another Dead Again. We did a special following the Lovecraft Festival, so we'll probably do that again.
I feel like this means I have to go out and buy the best of Lovecraft and read it, which I've done before, and it's a lot. It's a lot. I need to be more informed about the thing we're a part of.
Most people that really like Lovecraft discovered Lovecraft when they're about 13.
13 or 14 seems to be the right age to find Lovecraft.
So I started reading some of it in college because I had to, and I couldn't really connect with it, but
he's got a very dense and old writing style. Even when he was writing, it was kind of out of fashion. It was more like prose writing, even though he was in the 1920s. So it felt a little odd then even, but now there are stories that I still love. I wonder if I love them because of how much I loved them as a teen.
Right. True. Right.
So I don't know. I've tried to get my brother into Lovecraft, my older brother, and he was just like, yes. Not digging it. I get it as an older person.
And I love spooky. I love weird and ethereal. And I loved, when I was in high school, I read a lot of Poe. And now I think it's the same thing. It's like if I looked back at it now, would I actually like it? It's like
Poe, for some reason, feels timeless to me.
Yeah, I think Poe's a lot more accessible than Lovecraft.
I feel that too. Yeah.
He writes a lot more succinctly. Lovecraft will write 15 pages where virtually nothing happens, and then you read that last paragraph, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But that's what he does really well, as opposed to Poe actually writes stories.
Yeah, and
more
mounting
so.
dread throughout and stuff like that. Yeah.
So it sounds like you'd be an amazing TV writer now, like 15 episodes of nothing, and then season finale. Guess what, guys? We're in the backwards universe now. Everyone talks backwards. Where's things backwards?
Yes,
Like him and Lynch are just like best friends.
I can see that.
So anyhow, that's what we do here, you guys. There will be the occasional Lovecraft thing dropped in, and Eric mentioned the Lovecraft Film Festival. I am allowed to announce now that we will be down there interviewing Richard Stanley, the director of the new Color Out of Space movie starring Nicolas Cage.
Awesome.
So that'll be released as a special Strange Eons episode when that happens.
I'm assuming we'll be going afterwards because, hell, I haven't seen that movie yet.
No, I imagine we'll catch it on the opening night there down at the festival. And, you know, if you're
quickly right.
Yeah, if you're planning on attending the festival, there are day passes left, but there is a very small amount of weekend passes left.
Yeah.
I mean, less than 20 the last time I checked, and that was a couple
By the
days
time
ago.
you hear this, they're probably all gone.
Yeah.
Remind us where it is.
Portland, Oregon at the
Oh.
Hollywood Theater, which is just insane. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, especially since they've remodeled it, and you can actually sit in the seats for more than an hour.
Yeah, that used to be the thing. The seats would kill your back, and you're in there just watching films for 8 hours a day. And
You have to bring like a pillow to sit on.
Right.
It's my movie pillow. It's my movie.
Memory foam, yeah.
You guys, this memory foam is so good.
While we're talking about that stuff and plugging ourselves also, let's not forget to thank Danny Williford again so much, who's got his film festival coming up. It's a celebration of short films called Thursday Night Frights, and that's coming up October 3rd. That's in Raleigh, North Carolina. But we also...
Raleigh Road Drive-In.
I know. God, I'm so jealous. I'm like, ugh, I really want to see it on a drive-in screen. I asked him, please, I don't care about anything else, but if you could get a photo of the film on the screen with cars in front of it, that would make my day.
Oh, that'd be awesome. It's only $8 to get in, so freaking go.
Yeah, yeah. Then he also mentioned to us that the guys who were running the drive-in watched our short, which is the package, and they burst out laughing and then asked if it would be all right if they showed it as a bumper between films through the month of October.
That's so cool.
So,
Well, I don't know.
Multiple screenings of your short.
That's so cool.
Amazing. That's like dreams do.
I would love to hear, just out of curiosity, Danny, once you're done or when you know, what all we've shown before. What films, or if there's send me a link or something to this series. I'm just curious what movies will be involved with throughout the month of October.
Oh, right. Right. Well, Danny has been like not just a super fan, but a super friend, and he and I discuss a bunch of stuff, on Facebook, and we belong to a lot of the same groups, and he's sent me things. And Danny, I am putting together a neat little gift package for you. I think that you're going to dig.
Cool.
So
That's pretty cool.
It's got a bunch of nude pictures of Vanessa.
Wait a minute. Not that one.
Oh.
The other one.
You told me those pictures were for Danny.
Oh, and a bunch of nude pictures of Eric.
No. Oh, yes. Okay. That makes me feel better. I only agree to this if Eric has also got nude pictures that go into the pile.
All right, Eric. It's on your shoulders now.
Speaking of people that love our show that we adore, the day we're recording this is Langley's birthday.
Oh, I know. Happy birthday, Langley.
Birthday.
I sent him a little Facebook message this morning.
Aww,
That's right.
I did not. Now I feel like a monster. To Facebook.
What have you guys been up to in the time since we last spoke?
Fascinating things, apparently. All these things spring to mind. Oh, I must talk about this. Cool thing is coming out by Jason. God, I hope I get this name right because he's a great guy, and I've shown his damn films at my festival, and he runs one of the best, the Nightmare Film Festival in Ohio, which is easily one of the best horror festivals in the world right now. Has put together this thing called the Hell Arius Blu-ray. that includes, you'll recognize a few of these shorts.
Well, wait a second. You just put everybody on their toes. We want to hear you pronounce his name. Jason.
I just tried to. Here, you take a look. See if I say Jason at the bottom of that paragraph. There.
Jason Tostovan.
Ooh, that sounds.
Tostovan.
See, that sounds awesome. It sounds so easy when you say it.
He's going to call up and he's like, "What the fuck, man? That's not how I pronounce my name."
Or like
is
Steve
now.
Hollitz.
Memorize it, buddy.
But it's got the short film Lunch Ladies, which I don't know if you watched from Crypticon last year.
I don't think I saw that one.
Very good. Horrific, which is from ABCs of Death 2. Death Metal.
Oh,
I know you know that one.
I love that one.
Born Again, which won Best Short Film, I think 2 years ago at Crypticon.
I saw that one.
Yeah. And Killer Cart, which was one of the first ones, I think, that won for Bone Bat, and it's just, I love that
Is
short.
that like an older short film?
A few years ago, it's about a killer grocery cart.
Yeah, I've seen this. I've seen this at like one of the local movie theaters in town at Central Cinema, I think.
Yeah, they showed that. And Bitten, plus a brand new one that's never been shown before called A Very Important Film. So I just got to say, if you like short films, short comedy films, you'll want to pick this one up.
Where is this film festival?
Well, this is a Blu-ray that is released called Hellarius.
Hilarious.
Wow.
Okay.
And,
That's cool.
Man, those are all phenomenal shorts. So.
I wish that there was more stuff like this available.
Yeah.
You guys, if you're not going to film festivals and experiencing these films that sometimes you will never see any other way, you are really missing out because there's some really neat stuff out there.
I've been working on, you've been involved with, and we've been working on film festivals for 14, 15 years now overall.
Oh my gosh.
And the quality of short films versus the first 2 years we were doing this versus what's being made now is amazing. Because short films used to be kind of a joke, sort of like self-publishing a book in the 90s was considering, you're just not good enough to get your book out. Well, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And neither does short films not mattering because everybody's watches YouTube. And everything on YouTube that's most people watch is 15 minutes or less. So short films that are being made now are freaking amazing.
The bar has been raised so high. I did a short film this year, and it's funny because I'm almost 100% sure that the reason it's not doing it right in the festival circuit, which is totally fine. I don't mind. But I think part of it is because I shot it on an iPhone, and going to festivals and seeing the quality of these films that are coming out, they're visually beautiful. So I think, festivals really aren't the slog that they used to sometimes perhaps be.
No, I mean, when we started going down to the Lovecraft Film Festival, those first couple of years, there were some pretty shaky films there that were shot on, high 8.
VHS.
Digital 8 and stuff like that. And now you go down there and every one of those short films looks as pristine as any Marvel movie you're going to see. They're just gorgeous and the colors are beautiful.
The crappy camera now is like the red.
Yeah.
So if the worst camera you can get is a red, you're in good hands. Like I know people who are like, "Oh yeah, I got the Alexa for the weekend." I'm like, "Okay." Black Magic. I'm like, "Wow, okay, we're really pushing the boat out from where we used to be."
Look, too, it's more than the tools, though. People are kind of understanding
the language of film.
What they're creating and stuff like that. Because you mentioned the iPhone, but there are entire festivals based on you have to shoot the movie
on an
iPhone, edit an iPhone, and present it there. And I've shown some of those at Crypticon in the past, and they look fantastic.
Yeah.
So you got to work a little harder to make an iPhone look really good.
Oh my gosh!
You're not going to shoot
It's a surprising thing when you look at that footage.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting.
But if you mess it up, it's so easy to screw.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, especially if you're editing it in your phone as well. Mm-hmm. That's like a whole nother beast. Yeah, speaking of festivals, that's actually something that I recently finished up. I ran the second annual Anderson Island Film Festival last weekend.
What? How come we weren't notified of this? And by notified, I mean invited.
Oh, sorry.
Mentioned, told about.
I didn't even think to tell you guys.
Well, why wouldn't you tell listeners so people would show up?
Oh, yeah, sure. That's right. I could actually advertise this thing. I'm so busy. It's been crazy. But yeah, basically the last year I've been working on helping the small island that I live on. I had started doing a film festival last year, and I thought they did a really good job. But it's all these kind of older retirees, and they have no idea how cinema or festivals or any of these work. So I had to kind of go up to them and say, like, you don't have to hunt these movies down. You can get people to submit them to you. Yeah. And they were like, what? Yeah, you set up this page, and so I helped them set up a Film Freeway account and start having us like deal with submissions and how to judge them and critique them, and then how to like give awards, and then we set up the festival, and I talked about like how to do audience awards and ratings and all this stuff. So we really like flipped it all around. It was super fun. It was super exhausting, and it was when some retiree, like, okay, so it's on a farm in a kind of community center building.
Oh, okay, sure.
That's like a multi-purpose room. It's a really cool space. But when the person who's constructed the space is like an old Boeing retiree, and the sound system's really cool, but you have to like know magic and Cantonese to make it work. It's absolutely terrifying. So I was in the back trying to make everything function.
Oh man.
Last screening of the day, last film, Sunday night closer, which we had was Echo in the Canyon, which is this doc about a music scene in Laurel Canyon. Halfway through the movie, the sound just goes out.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And I could just hear, because I was sat in the back, and I could just hear, and I just jumped up and ran over and just stared at like literally 7 feet tall of various metal boxes, each doing different things, trying to like turn things on and off and trying to work it out. And some other guy behind me shows up and he's like, okay, so, and we worked it out relatively quickly. It took us about 10 minutes to fix the issue. Because there were all these boxes stacked on top of each other that were, the speakers and the DVD player and blah, blah, blah. The bottom box that mixes and like, I want to say the amp, but that might not be right. The sound, the brain of the sound system that had been working for 2 days straight, that was at the bottom in a closet.
Oh, shit.
Was like so hot to the touch.
Oh no.
Oh, it was rough. So like we're like, well, maybe this is it. So we turned everything off. We opened this. There are 2 doors on either side of the closet. We opened it up. We put a fan on it. We opened all the windows, and then we tried it again. And the whole rest of the movie, it worked. But I was like, oh my god, don't quit. Just make it through. Just get to the end. It's going to be fine. So yeah, so that was fun. And I feel like I now know your world.
That's pretty wild, because the Issaquah Film Festival that I helped with was that same weekend.
Was it really?
Yeah, so it's going on the same weekend, but it's a totally different experience for me, because for that one we work with SIF for getting the full films. Oh, that's awesome. And then the Issaquah Art Commission that I'm on, we work together to find the shorts. It's at a theater, at a Regal Cinema.
Oh, cool.
And the SIF sends over their projectionist, and so I make sure he's got all the information 3 weeks in advance and everything's set up.
So cool.
And they do all that stuff. So much nicer than like what you did, or Crypticon, where it's just like show up and say hi. And we had magicians perform.
Wait, what? There were magicians?
We had a short film the second Thursday of the month, which is about 2 magicians that perform on Capitol Hill here in Seattle.
Oh my god.
So they came and did a show after their short film show and stuff.
That's so brilliant.
That was a great suggestion.
That alone, that should be on the poster. Come to the Issaquah Film Festival. There will be magicians.
It's one of those it used to be Cinnabar.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So the number of seats in their largest theater is like 110 seats.
Yeah, they're pretty.
But so it's free because it's a city-run thing.
Yeah.
So the city just we're not going to charge people to see this. So it's such a nice, easy version of doing a film festival.
I envy you, but I do enjoy the fact that it's super bootstrapping, and like some of the movies we played were things that like old timers on the island had like Scotch taped together.
Cool.
There's like a real heart of it that really appealed to me. But in my like feedback notes, I did say I had probably 2 pages of next year notes. So like, we got to change these things, guys. I am overwhelmed. But it was great. They are all throwing their backs into it.
Very cool.
But one day I can only dream of having somebody just roll in and take care of it for me.
It was pretty nice. That's how I started with Myth and then go to Crypticon. Oh man, Crypticon's a friggin' pain in the ass.
Right. I mean, it's a lot of work. I can't believe what you do for that.
Anyways, man.
Very cool.
Are you doing anything?
Yeah, actually, I saw a movie, and I'm going to ask Vanessa to chime in because I know that you saw it as well.
Oh, I know where this is going.
I saw It Chapter 2.
Amazing.
I think that you liked it better than I did, and you didn't love it.
The more I think about it, the less I like it. But that's what happened with the first one too.
Right.
So were you just angry as soon as the credits rolled?
No. In fact, that opening scene I thought was really strong.
Right.
And I thought to myself, I think the critics got this one wrong. And
3 hours later.
fucking A, man. 3 hours and nothing
so
happens.
Rough.
It was basically just a rehash of the first movie.
Yeah.
Just with adults instead of
With
kids.
adults, which is not nearly as interesting. And that's the real problem. You got James McAvoy in your movie, and he's not doing a fucking thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of our finest actors right now, and is just given nothing to do.
Yeah, it was weird because it felt like a series of vignettes. It felt like a bunch of short films because it basically all the adults get together and then they separate to go get their totems. Yeah. And so they each have some experience with the clown trying to get their totem, or they remember an experience with the clown. So there is like a lot of going back to the old cast. I think like as an anchor, because they realized that was kind of a big selling point.
That bothered me a lot. Flashing back to scenes that didn't happen in the first movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Using the same cast, but having to digitally de-age them, which was uncomfortably obvious in only one of the kids. I thought Finn Wolfhard, I thought looked oddly shiny because he has grown up a lot in between the last year. I didn't like, I felt a little bit like Annie Wilkes complaining about that. I was like, that's not what happened. That's not what happened in the last movie. If that happened in the last movie, how come he didn't fucking tell us in the last movie?
It was really odd. It was strange to be like, oh, we're flashing back to all these things that happened, like when you guys were prepping to go fight the... Wait, when did this happen?
Yeah, it didn't happen.
Right.
I was disappointed with a lot of the scenes that I thought, well, this is building up to be a scary scene that was then deflated by a joke at the end. Oh, there was no tension built up. And I couldn't understand. I felt like they were saying, well, we got Bill Hader in here, and he's known as a comedian, and he's playing a comedian, and so we're going to give him a funny line at the apex of every scary scene, which just made you go, the tension was just completely sucked out every time he did that.
I think the tension was sucked out because there were like 5 endings to that movie. You were like, oh, this is the big, nope. Oh, this is the big,
The Return of the King problem?
It was just a real bummer, and I thought that the movie was unnecessary. Here's the problem. The book is not laid out with half of it is the kids and half of it is the adults.
Oh.
The book is laid out. It goes back and forth through time, and the climax of the kids' story corresponds with the climax of the adult story, and it's pretty much the same climax.
Oh.
And that's why
unintended.
This doesn't feel right because at the end of this movie, it's just them fighting Pennywise again, and you're like, this is the same story. That's because it's all supposed to be one story. They could have just gone back and forth and cut it off in the middle of the story if they wanted to do it 2 parts.
Yeah, and it was actually kind of an odd ending because it was felt uncomfortably pro-bullying.
Yeah, they bully Pennywise.
They bully Pennywise to death.
What the hell?
They're like, it's amazing.
Weird.
They are cruel.
And you know what?
So
that worked fantastic in 1984 when they did it in Nightmare on Elm Street, and they bullied Freddy Krueger, and she said, "You have no power over me," and all that stuff. That's an amazing. That's an amazing idea. Is that your fear is really what's keeping this thing alive? But it's not an original idea,
right?
And so they needed to do something else.
Nightmare executes it as it's quick, and it's as soon as she does that, it's done.
Yeah.
It's not a series of
They each have to
people
individually
attacking
tell it that it's not valuable,
Oh, by the way, spoilers on this movie since we just talked about that.
Sorry. Maybe we should put that on the text.
I think that's just our show.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking that. I was like, man, like, what is not okay to talk about in this show? I guess we just talk about everything.
Not a goddamn thing. It's everything's
Just watch
fine.
the movie before you come in. I guess that's the...
There you go. Yes.
Well, since we're talking about the ending of that, not only do they do that, which is kind of a weird theme to end on, especially in these times, but on top of that, then there's also kind of a pro-suicide message at the end.
Oh, because he did it to get them to. Oh,
Yeah, he turned out to be a hero by
You're
killing
so
himself.
right.
Not sacrificing himself
No.
exactly.
No, he
committing
did it-
suicide because he knew that this would be a catalyst for them to all get together.
Oh my god! I
And
forgot about
I was
that.
just like,
I buried it.
this is super uncomfortable in these times.
Yeah, there was a lot of odd messaging throughout. Like, also like Bill Hader, who clearly in his youth was starting to feel like homoerotic feelings and then was like suffocating them, never comes out at the end and says like, there's no moment of resolution for that.
Well, it would have been interesting to see those feelings in that first movie instead of being shown in a flashback that he was starting to have those feelings back
That's
then.
true.
Because that was one of the things I was like, that didn't happen. But that would have been an interesting storyline back then. I didn't
really
like.
would have.
I didn't like the idea. They updated the film so that the adults could. This sequence could take place kind of in our present day. I think it takes place in 2016, and the movie, of course, or the book, of course. The kids are in the late 50s and then the 80s. That would have worked better as a film. First of all, I think that when you set everything back in time, then you get kind of a timeless quality. The problem with this is that, he's an entertainer, a big-time entertainer in the entertainment industry, and he's afraid of coming out, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, this
is a character in the film?
in the
Yeah.
film, yeah. And I'm like, I guess this doesn't hold the weight it did in the 80s
No.
at all, or
Oh, true.
what it would have, in the late 50s,
Yeah.
when that would have been a much bigger deal. So I just wish that they had kept it all time specific, and it would have, I think, resonated a lot stronger.
And they really like kind of screwed themselves over by going back and forth in time, because they did get quite a few like tokens of I'm trying to remember what year they were setting the childhood in.
83?
Yeah,
I
because
think?
they were
The first film?
Yeah.
in the arcade. They're playing like Street Fighter, which
Is that not?
it came out in the 90s.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
like-
it's a very like specific like, hey guys, you done messed up.
Wait a second. So when was it? Because maybe it was the 90s, because at one point they have Nightmare on Elm Street 5 on the movie marquee.
Oh, yeah, that would have been. Is the new movie current times as far as they're adults or
Current-ish, I think it's
current-ish?
2016.
So yeah, it'd have to be the early 90s then.
But it
Because they're not
really
old enough to have
feels-
been
But
8 and 9
who
in
would've-
83.
who would have watched the first movie and said, yeah, this takes place in 1996? It doesn't look like it. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like they were really like honing in on either the 80s or the 50s.
Maybe they were trying to go that It Follows thing where you've got the weird, what the hell time is this taking place in vibe?
Which would be fine, except that there is a specific number of years between each Pennywise revolution.
Yeah.
There's 27 years, I think. Anyway, I just found the movie, boring, not scary,
Right.
and just bummer. I didn't love that first movie. I know you didn't love it either, but I did think that it was better than the miniseries that everybody seems to remember very well for some reason.
Because it scared us all as kids.
As
Yeah, I was
kids,
gonna say
right?
when you're a kid.
Yeah.
and
I was
saw
an
it.
adult when I saw it, and so I was a little disappointed with it. But this new movie is not better than the miniseries.
It's not.
And so that's a
Oh,
problem.
wow.
It is weird. It is weird that it's not as good as something that I originally watched and thought, it's okay.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, wow, that clown was way scarier in the original. I mean, like, I will say this, both movies I felt like were enjoyable enough to sit through once. And like, while watching them, I felt perfectly happy. It was just once you start to think about anything, it just starts falling apart. And when you realize you've been in the theater for almost 3 hours and you're like, I want to go home.
Yeah.
That's a real bad feeling.
Yeah. Well, you will be happy to know that they are talking about an It prequel
Oh, good.
and also
Thank
a
God.
6-hour supercut of the two films.
Oh, my
Maybe they'll go back and cut it like you were talking about with the book.
I would
They
be
put it in the right order.
interested in it if they did that, because I think it could work better. And they could just drop all of the flashbacks out of this movie. If they want to do that, they flash back to the original movie and make those things work.
I was really surprised when I heard that they wanted to do an extended version of the second half, because I was like, I literally cannot imagine what you left out. Like, there's not a thing in this movie that you didn't include.
Well, it's
the
a
thing.
giant book.
They're also talking about extra scenes
Yeah.
being added.
Oh,
in.
finally.
Isn't it like one of his
Jeez.
longest books up there with the stand and
It's
stuff?
yeah, if I remember correctly, it's like 1,200 pages or something. I love the book, and I read the book right when it came out, and I was only a couple of years older than the kids when it came out. So when I read it, I think that the weird stuff with the very sexual ending between underage kids and all that, which seems really uncomfortable now. As a kid that was only a couple of years older than that, reading that, I blew right by it, and it didn't seem weird at all.
I can see that, yeah.
On a tangent, I'm reading Stephen King's new book, The Institute, which I love, and it's got a bunch of kids in it. But the problem is, he's still the master of characters and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But his kids are using slang that sounds like it's right out of an old carny from the 40s or something. It's just like,
He's got
I
to
don't
watch some
think
like
kids
Twitch videos or something.
I don't think kids say stuff like that, Steve, but I'm
Go
still
to the
enjoying the book a
internet.
lot.
Let's go down and get ourselves a sody at the sody jerk.
Get off my back, dude.
We did get our first 5-star review challenge film
Oh, cool.
from Bob Hale. Thanks, Bob. It was a unique viewing experience. It's the movie X-TRO.
Oh, man.
X-TRO.
Have
X-TRO.
either of you seen this?
No,
Yeah.
I have
Okay.
not.
Yeah, I've seen it. Had you
I had never seen
never
it.
seen it? Okay.
So, which was, it's one that sat, because, it's the early 80s. It had the great box art. One of those you always kind of, man, I got to see that. Just never did.
Got a cool monster on the cover, and then you realize in the movie, oh, that monster never changes that look. It's like a static mask that can't move its mouth or eyes or anything.
Oh, no.
It does not evolve. Yeah, I was almost like I felt, I'm not sure if this was he wanted to torture me or he really enjoys it. But it's a 1982, directed by Harry Davenport, who also directed X-TRO 2 and 3. Written by Lane Casey, who wrote Schizo. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but that's a strange ass film. Starring a bunch of British folks who done stuff. It's kind of like one of my first notes is what did the alien do to the woman to bring the guy back there? That seemed very orally rapey.
Well, you should get into what's the story on this thing. As I recall,
I don't know.
It's a dad and his son. I can't remember if they're flying a kite or throwing a ball or something like that.
yeah.
But then does a spaceship come down and take the dad?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the dad disappears for 3 years.
Oh, okay. For 3 years. Okay.
And he comes back, and the mom, of course, his son is a little older, and she's got a new boyfriend. And
That's right.
and I'm guessing, lovely French lady who's sort of, I don't know if she's a house cleaner or a nanny, but I know why she was hired to be in this movie. And that's pretty much just one thing. Where,
One thing or two things?
Shirtless?
more than two.
Wow.
So,
Whoa.
yeah, so yeah, she basically is there to kind of get naked and sort of yell at people a little bit and then become egg incubator later on in the film.
No.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
Good.
Well,
You're going to force a girl to get naked and like thrash around, make her ugly later so that guys regret it.
the
Every time they're like jerking off, they're like, oh, but remember when she had eggs in her? Oh.
It is pretty gross looking. Yeah.
as I recall, the dad is not the dad. It's
No.
not that he comes back. He's actually like a creature that looks
Probably one of the most amazing scenes in the film is his re-entry into Earth through the oral rape and then subsequent birthing.
He is born fully formed,
Yes.
right? Yeah. It's a pretty rough scene.
Like, oh my God. And of course, it's early 80s, so everything's practical.
Yeah,
So it's all real effect. One thing I found a little amusing growing up in the sticks of Idaho is that the kid has a little garden snake. Okay, granted, it's kind of a large garden snake, but still a garden snake. People freak out about it. It's like, oh God, your snake's out. Ah, I'm so scared of your snake. And some lady, his snake gets out and gets in a lady's salad and she freaks out and kills the snake. It's like,
She kills the snake.
yeah, just like, the snake's what, 2 feet long maybe? I mean, come on.
That's a pretty big garter snake.
It was a big garden snake, but still it was a garden snake.
Garden snake? I thought it was a garter snake.
No, I'm pretty sure it was the
I
ones I
think
used
the
to
word,
see.
I think the word is garter.
Oh, is it?
Garter,
Could be.
garter.
Could be
I
one of
don't
those
believe it's
things. Could have been one of those things like the bugs are either potato bugs or roly-polies or whatever. Depending on where you live, they have a
That's
different
true.
name.
But we all know
Our
what
snake
it is.
expert friend Craig will
Yes,
tell us.
please.
I was going to say,
Thank you.
everybody right now is Googling this. They're like, wait, I thought it was garden.
And for some reason, when the dad comes back and reconnects with his kid, there's this very weird scene where he latches onto the kid's shoulder and transfers something to him or something like that. And now the kid can make things move with his mind, I think. And he turns a little clown into a little person that dances around for
Oh
him.
my God.
Yeah, I mean, the more you're
This
talking
sounds
about this,
mental.
the more I'm loving it.
Oh, I first 20 minutes, I'm going, is this really going to be as awful as it seems? And by the end, I'm going, okay, this is like a WTF level awesome film of insanity.
Nice.
He makes a little green army man into a full-size plastic-looking army guy who goes around and I think he kills the lady that killed his snake.
Sounds a little bit like House. You've got these like really exciting elements meeting practical.
I think House,
emotional
though,
space.
was trying to be a little weirder and pulled it off a little better. I don't know if the person making this knew how weird what they were making was.
Oh my gosh, that's even better.
Yeah.
Like not self-aware.
The boyfriend leaves a note for the wife about something he's said. It's this big piece of paper sitting someplace and it says, "The note," written on the outside. It was like,
Yes. Oh, every time I leave a note for somebody now, I'm going to put that like right on the notes.
And then just text them, I left the note for you on the door.
yes. It has strange flute music at several points in the movie where it's I think it's supposed to be suspense film, but it doesn't really. Flute's not exactly a terror-inducing instrument.
Whatever.
And then the kid, to turn the lady into the egg, the kid who's probably 13 latches onto the French lady's stomach and just sucks on her stomach for 3 or 4 minutes of screen time, going back and forth. And
okay.
you see the tendrils, actually kind of a well done effect where you can see whatever he's doing is going into her stomach. And don't know for sure, but I think the lady in the end kind of knew what was going on and where this was coming, sort of an invasion of the world. But my final note was, I'm writing a lot of question marks behind all of these statements I'm writing because I'm not entirely certain in my interpretation of what's going on is right at all, because the problem is it's really, really hard to get. It is a very hard movie to find.
How did you hunt it down?
None of your business.
Legal means, not so legal means.
Let's see. I guess I could go with We Live in the Same Town as Scarecrow. Yeah, that's it.
There we go.
I must have gotten it at Scarecrow.
Yeah, you definitely got it at Scarecrow. Isn't music or movie VHS rental week coming up or something? Go Scarecrow.
I'm not aware of this week.
I'm terrible at advertising. I feel like they sent me an email about it. You should care about your businesses.
That's right. But anyway, so that's the first 5-star review. Feel free to leave another one. And in the end, Bob, I got to say, I actually really enjoyed watching this freaking crazy film.
Of this film is that it's really grimy looking.
Yeah, it is. It's that period in the early 80s where they hadn't quite left the 70s yet.
Yeah.
So it's still got a lot of that.
Doesn't have the shine of the 80s. It's got a real in-your-face kind of uncomfortableness. Yeah.
And I never quite understood. I thought I'd heard a lot of people say it's kind of a ripoff of Alien, which I guess because it's an alien. But beyond that, it's not anything
Well, if
like,
it's like
Alien.
infecting somebody and leaving something to burst out of somebody, maybe that's part
Yeah,
of
that
it?
doesn't really happen.
Oh, okay. Huh.
He does plant things, but they don't come.
They don't-
That's what I thought was going to happen.
Right.
Well, I mean,
But sort
you
of,
might be
I
taking
guess.
that from me saying the guy he's born full grown, but it's a very slow, gross scene.
It's really weird.
Not the explosive
Excellent.
alien scene.
Yes, it's very weird.
Actual growing.
If it was easy to find, I would recommend go out and find it and see where this alarm or this siren fading away.
I should tell you guys I sell drugs out of this house, so
Oh, good.
yeah.
Good to know.
I'll see you guys later.
The window's
Vanessa,
right there.
have you seen anything else lately?
Yeah, so one movie that I almost watched
He almost won.
was speaking of it and Stephen King, I was considering attacking Langoliers for this week.
Right.
And I got about halfway through, and this is I will finish it. It's a long process.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it.
So as a kid, I watched part of this on TV, and it left these like crazy memories and like sparked my imagination. And I remembered it being totally the most mind-blowing concept I'd ever thought of. People fall asleep on a plane, they wake up and everyone's gone. It is. I think it's still eerie. I think it's still interesting, but it is so slow. You could easily have had that movie in like 90 minutes.
It's a miniseries?
It's a TV miniseries. It's 3 hours.
Yeah, it was a 2-night event. I do remember enjoying that story very much, but the movie adaptation left a lot to be desired.
Yeah, I remember that too.
It's got Al from Quantum Leap.
They said
It
Alf.
also has
It's got Alf. All right.
it also has Balky from Perfect Strangers.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
Right?
my goodness.
Am
No, I think you're right.
I think I'm remembering that correctly. It also has David Morse, who's a fantastic actor. He plays the pilot.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's awesome.
he probably holds the record for how many Stephen King adaptations he's been in.
Really?
Yeah.
He was impressive. I was really enjoying his skill level.
Yeah, well, he was also in The Green Mile, so he's not a bad actor. He's a great actor.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I feel like when you say that, I want to feel like The Green Mile was a recent movie, but in reality, it's actually kind of an old movie now.
What is it, 20 years old maybe?
Right? I'm like, yeah, I saw that not that long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Green Mile, sure, good acting.
Well, the way you can watch movies now, though, really compresses the time concept of what. Because
Yeah.
everything's available now, as opposed to like you used to be the movie would come out, if you're going into the video age, the movie would come out, then you'd wait 90 days to a year or 99 months to a year for the video to hit VHS.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to wait. So it's like, but now everything's out and available. So, that was 20 years ago. I did actually just watch it last month.
Right. Exactly. It does feel very, very strange. And and I think that the time difference also on this particular piece was interesting because you hit that halfway mark where it's like, it's the 2-act structure and it's like dun dun dun, and I'm like, I literally haven't seen the monster yet. If I was watching this on TV, I'd be like, okay, so everything was weird in the air and the soda doesn't taste so hot and you've landed. But that's all. There's nothing. Everyone feels like something's coming, and they hear a noise far away. I'm like partway into the second half, and I'm like, I still haven't seen the damn things. So
Well, and you don't until really
Yeah,
the
it's
last
a-
act of the
Yeah.
story, and
I
it's
kinda get
the
that sense.
story, too, isn't it?
yeah, that's true. The story, it's kind of a mystery, and then you start hearing a noise, and
it's
then
not
you
like a
see what they are.
300-page novel, though, is it?
No, but it was maybe a 100-page novella. So,
Totally makes sense. 3 hours.
Hey, why not?
you guys, if you haven't seen this, put this on your list. It is called Tigers Are Never Afraid.
Oh,
That was at the Issaquah Film Festival.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I was supposed to go, and I couldn't make it.
Well, it is streaming on Shudder right now.
It's good.
And it is really solid. I mean, there has been this swing of Mexican horror that is so good. Last year, one of my very favorite movies, and was also available on Shudder, was called Terrified.
Oh, yeah.
And then this thing finally got here. And I had heard about this movie a couple years ago, and I was just like, God, I really want this to show up somewhere, because it was hitting festivals and everybody was just clamoring for it. And then nothing. It was having a hard time being distributed for some reason.
Well, I can think of a couple reasons, maybe. It's pretty dark. It's pretty brutal. And it's all kids. Like,
Yeah.
A couple of the kids are really young, too.
Yes.
Yeah,
But that's what
really
makes
good.
it so
Yeah.
so compelling is that it's taking place in Mexico, where, and they have some statistics at the beginning of the film where these parents will get kidnapped or killed in various things, and then the kids are just kind of there. They're living on their own in the street, and they form these little child gangs and try to stay alive. And that's kind of what's going on here, but there is also this kind of underworld that this girl is able to tap into that has ghosts and various almost mythic creatures, things like that. It felt very much like a Del Toro film.
Yeah, that was a great comparison. And it's done so smoothly in the world it creates that it doesn't feel as weird as it really is. It feels oddly it belongs. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It doesn't feel like, well, has no place in this story. It absolutely fits into the story.
Yeah, because it's got that kind of really dark fantasy, world going on that, that Stephen King wishes somebody would be able to do with his books.
Yeah.
This is, when you were talking about kid actors, I watched this. This is a movie that's basically run by 6 kids ranging from 8 to 13 or something, and every one of these kids is just an amazing little actor.
Really good.
And it is very violent, and there are a lot of things that are going to make you go, "Oh my God, did they just kill a kid?" And
Oh my God.
it's sad at the end. It's a really sad ending, but it's so good. So put that on your list and watch
That's
it.
really good. Yeah, I had to nudge the Issaquah team just a little bit because it's very much. The festival's new enough. They're trying to get people to come in and be more interested. So a lot of the films are really great documentary about like making pasta and stuff like that. So I'm like, well, let's play this one on Saturday night,
my
the late
gosh.
night, 8:00 start time on Saturday. We'll see how it goes. And I think this is kind of cool. We did have like one walkout, not because they thought it was inappropriate and bad and couldn't stand it, but it was so well done, it disturbed them enough. They're going, this is not a movie for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's a cool reason to have somebody walk out.
Oh, totally.
Now, is this at this last Issaquah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it showed on Shudder, but also is still doing a festival.
Yeah, I think
was
it
like the night
started on Shudder almost about the same time. It was right
It was
around
like the
that
night
same
before it played at Issaquah, and then it was available on Shudder the next day, I think.
time. Yeah, it was a really, really tight window.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was, because I was working with SIF, so SIF had to get the permission from the film, and they're like, well, if you show it, I don't think we could show it Sunday, but we could show it Saturday.
Right.
So I was like, okay.
Totally. Oh my gosh.
Well, how about we take a little break and then we will come back with our picks for this week's topic, which is Death from Above.
Death from choking. What the fuck was that?
Death from Above. I want people to listen and they go, what just happened to my player?
Just start banging on it.
Say, kids, what is it up in the sky? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Superman. Yes, sir, kids, a real flying Superman that can be yours. Looks just like Superman himself. He's made of tough blue plastic and has a bright red cape that fits on his shoulders. With your flying Superman, you get a powerful launcher to send him sky high, zooming through space just like Superman does in his adventures. Now, you'll want to be one of the first to have your own flying Superman, so listen carefully, because here's all you do to get yours. Send one box top from Kellogg's Corn Flakes and just 10 cents. That's one box top and just 10 cents to Flying Superman, Box 330, Battle Creek, Michigan. Or use the handy order blank right on the Kellogg's Corn Flakes package. Get your Flying Superman from Kellogg's now.
And we're back. Okay, this week, Vanessa chose the topic. That means you got to go first.
I have to go first. My God.
Yeah.
This isn't fair at all. So the movie, well, the topic that
Sorry
I
to
chose.
put you on the spot in this very uncomfortable situation, but
that I
go.
had absolutely no knowledge of ahead and was unable to prepare in any way,
That's
shape, or
right.
form. Thanks, guys. So the topic that I chose was Death from Above, which I thought would be like a really easy thing. I was like, oh yeah, there will be either creatures, because I didn't want to have us do the birds because that's obvious, but I was like, oh yeah, creatures, and I was like, well, I don't want it to be aliens, so it has to be like something, or maybe it could be like acid rain or something. And then I looked into like acid rain movies, and there's like a TV, like one Netflix series that I was not about to watch for this. So it's like, oh, okay, like I'll look into other movies. Oh, no, there's not that many options.
No, there really isn't.
There are very few.
I'm going to give you a little hint here,
Okay,
Vanessa.
all right.
You're new to this gimmick we're doing.
yeah.
I'm going to guess Eric does the same thing I do sometimes, which is sometimes I'll come across or think about a movie and I'll go, I
Yes.
need to turn this into a topic
Yes.
and make the other guys figure something
That's
out.
how we did, like, the Changeling for haunted houses is probably the perfect example of that. It's like, oh, I want to talk about this movie.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, you're putting way too much work on yourself if you're just going, how about this? And
That's
then
100% what I'm doing. And like, it's been quite a challenge I've given to myself because I was like, oh no, how did they find movies? I'm barely finding movies. I have a list on Letterboxd actually of like the 8. And somebody else was like, you gotta do Tremors 3. And I was like, because there's flying dudes.
Oh, there are?
Yeah.
Huh, I did not know that.
Yeah. I was like, I don't think I'm going to do Tremors 3, but thank you very much. Instead, I went for a much classier film, Mosquito, a.k.a. Night Swarm, 1994.
Something is killing these people and sucking them dry of blood. It's them. They're coming back.
So good. It's 132 minutes. 60% critics.
It's just gonna. It's
wait a second, it's 132 minutes?
I'm sorry, I lied. It's 92 minutes.
I was going to say, fuck those guys and their shitty movie that they couldn't cut down to 90 minutes.
Oh my gosh, sorry, it's 92
man,
minutes.
that's
92
crazy.
minutes. Sorry about that. I wrote it down as 1 hour 32 minutes, so I just smashed them together. 60% critics, 37% audience on Rotten Tomatoes. So well loved by the public. I mean, I feel like that's a pretty big discrepancy between critics and...
Why would the critics have it higher?
I don't know. I cannot work this out.
I've never even heard of this film, if I'm being honest.
Well, that makes sense because it's directed by Gary Jones, who you might know from directing Boogeyman 3, Planet Raptor, the TV movie, Croc 2.
Sci-Fi Channel guy.
I don't know that Sci-Fi Channel existed when he was working on most of this stuff.
Okay. Wow.
He also wrote 3 films in total, but they all have amazing titles. And I really kind of want to watch them, even though I don't think I should. So it has Axe Giant, Wrath of Paul Bunyan.
I've seen that one.
Oh my God.
I have seen that.
Is it good?
No. No, it's not.
But it has such a good title.
There are aspects of it are a lot of fun.
Right.
But it's not a good movie.
And then there's Jolly Roger, Massacre at Cutter's Cove, which also has a great title.
Pretty good, yes.
I mean, Night Swarm, which was the other title for Mosquito, it also sounds amazing.
Yeah.
All might actually know Gary Jones from is he was the hand in Evil Dead 2. Uncredited.
Uncredited. Well, that would then mean that he is also the hand from the Addams Family movies, and because
is
that's
that
his thing, he
yeah.
runs his hand around and makes it look
okay.
like it's got its own.
Now I
life.
wonder, but isn't that guy famous? Because he's got a famous hand thing?
Well,
What movie were we talking about? That
we're
he was
talking
in?
about Old Man Jones' boy, right? Gary.
Right. Yeah.
I would
the
say
Gary
that
of
he
the
is
Jones. It's true. It's true.
Idle Hands. Is
Yeah.
where that came
Yeah.
up before, was in the movie Idle Hands. Was
Exactly.
That guy.
Now I'm wondering if the internet lied to me and he didn't, but but why would they tell me that?
Do you think he's at a bar and he's like picking up chicks? And,
I think
do you know who I am? And they're like, no. And he goes, how about now? And he puts his hand and runs it around on the bar in front of him.
You know Wednesday Addams? I do.
I'm really good with my hand.
Oh my God.
Moving quickly on.
Moving very swiftly on. The budget for this was $200,000. Box office brought in $986,000.
Hey, profit's profit.
Yeah, it actually did pretty.
Well, this
decent.
sounds like then it was a theatrical release?
Yeah, it came
What
out
year was it again?
1994.
Oh, okay. So
It did have
How
a
did I miss
theatrical,
this movie?
but I got two different release dates. So one was December 31st and one was like November something. So I'm not sure. I feel like this
Maybe a film festival release
Maybe.
and then a limited theatrical
So,
release or
yeah.
something.
right.
That could be.
One thing I will say this film is lacking is good writing, and you can tell because the two writers include Tom Chaney, who did 3 films in total, Mosquito and Wendigo 95 are 2 of them, and Steve Hodge, who literally only did Mosquito. So seasoned people for this little.
Maybe he blew his wad.
John?
Maybe after that he was like, you know what? I have achieved the pinnacle of writing.
Right.
and
Everything I've ever wanted.
Got my movie out. It's sitting on a shelf.
Oh my God. So we've got a couple of people in here that are stars in this. We've got Rachel Losell, who is not a star in anything. She's the park ranger / animal expert. She's our kind of main character. We have Tim Lovelace, who's the boyfriend. Gunnar Hansen as Earl, the bank robber. You guys might know
Okay,
as
sure.
Leatherface. And then Steve Dixon, who's the meteor expert. He's by far the best actor in this whole thing. He's only had a few small roles, though, but he's 100% the best actor in this whole damn thing. And I'm like, why is he not the famous one out of everybody here? Like, Earl was even not super great. But to give you guys a rundown of basically the whole Mosquito plot line. An alien, so there are aliens involved, but not like it's not an alien movie. An alien ship.
Are you bending around?
After you told us.
It's like a 1 minute part of this whole movie is the alien. And I really think it's not about the alien. So, because they forget about the aliens later anyway. So, an alien ship crashes to Earth and it lands in a swamp. And some mosquitoes come out of the water, and there's like an alien lying in the swampy waters.
You know how many movies I passed over that were started exactly that way?
So the mosquito, right? So it goes and lands on the alien and sucks the alien's blood, and then it becomes a horrific, gigantic creature. So
I do kind of like that idea.
actually,
Yeah.
that part, I will say, the mosquitoes in this movie are freaking amazing. Like the special effects are so good. Like they kind of aren't great at flying. I will say that. Like, their legs kind of stay still and their wings sort of just move them horizontally forwards. But like when they suck blood, like their little internal organs like fill up with these little blood balloons. It was really
cool.
impressive. Yeah, and when they suck people dry, of course, because they're mosquitoes, spoiler alert, they just like pinch like the middle of people or wherever they can get, and they just suck them dry. And like the dead bodies look pretty awesome too. I wouldn't say that's like physically correct. I was actually watching it with my friend who's a EMT, and she was like, "That's not how bodies work." I would say it really added something to the experience, listening to somebody be really frustrated with the anatomy of this movie.
Must be hard for her to watch any films.
It's very true. The number of times I've been lectured about CPR and also what happens when that machine goes, I can tell you it's a lot. So basically this alien ship lands. Meanwhile, there is a park camp with some park rangers who are complaining about there being too many mosquitoes. There's one very kind of rapey guy. I guess we're not supposed to think of him as rapey. I don't know. He's got binoculars and he's watching chicks in bikinis from afar. And then they're like, "Hey, buddy, go deal with the mosquitoes." And he's like, "But I don't want to. I'm going to tell the man that I'm not going to do that." And then he goes in and like sucks up to his boss. And he's like, "Whatever you say, boss." So it was really interesting. They're waiting
Thank
for
you for that. It's scintillating scene.
You're welcome. Anytime. Mosquito, as performed by Vanessa Williams. You're welcome. So, so they're waiting for this proper park ranger to arrive, which is our heroine, Miss Rachel. So you don't really need to worry about their names. They're not that important. She shows up she's on her way with her boyfriend, who points out that she's an animal expert. They hit one of these giant mosquitoes on way to camp. She then immediately forgets all knowledge of being into animals. It goes back and forth a lot, where she's like, what was that? Oh, honey, help me. And like, oh, I'm going to like move this thing. I don't know what it is. Wait, it's a giant bug. It takes her way too long to work out that the enormous mosquito, which is clearly a mosquito, is actually an insect. It's really weird. Like the logic in this is
I feel
troublesome.
like she's talking about Lake Placid again.
It's not as bad as Lake Placid because you know from the tin what you're getting.
It's at least a little better.
It is. I mean, because you just there's no expectations it's going to be in any way a good film. I feel like Lake Placid has like famous people in it. It does. It was supposed to be written by somebody who knew what they were doing. But this movie, it really goes off the rails from there. And I'm talking like 10 minutes in. Yeah. So they then run across a meteorologist who's there he saw the alien crash land and he thinks it's a meteor, so he wants to go investigate it. The weird boyfriend that she brought with him, who she like randomly relies on and then they forget and then relies on. Anyway, he's messing around with like a Geiger counter and he's like, pull over. There's Geigers count. I'm like, why does the meteorologist have a Geiger counter?
I'm counting Geigers.
There's sure a lot of Geigers over here. And like, Anyway.
I'm fairly certain that meteorologists don't study meteors.
I believe that's weather, isn't
Meteor,
it?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Huh. Okay, well, whatever he is.
Meteor shit.
They had a description of him on the website that was also completely incorrect. So, meteor experts. Let's go with that.
Meteor experts.
So they get to, all three of them get to the park where the park is everyone's murdered. And the meteor guy gives this amazing like scream into the air. Like, my God, what has happened here? It's so good. It's so good. And there's no one there to hear it. And then there's... Meanwhile,
scream in the woods.
Meanwhile, there are three hunters wandering around who are like supreme idiots for no reason, and also apparently later you find out they're bank robbers.
There's layers in this film.
There's layers in this film.
Deepens in
you
meaning.
only find out later when they have a bag of cash that drops and it starts flying
Does it have a
away.
dollar sign on it?
Yeah, basically. And they're like running after it, and you're like, where did this? Wait. Why do they have cash? They were just hunting animals a second ago. Like, it's very interesting. These group of misfits have to band together to take care of the mosquito enemy mosquitoes. And so they get into a Winnebago and they drive away from mosquitoes. But, that actually has a really good fight scene, I will say. Man versus mosquito. Nice. But then they fend off like two of them and there's still like 100 outside. And Leatherface grabs the girlfriend and he's like, I'm going to hold you hostage. I'm taking over this Winnebago and I'm in charge now. And it's like, you're mid-fight? This seems like a bad plan. And it's like, why? You're already escaping. What do you need? Oh my God. Okay. And then they get out of the Winnebago and the like robbers are like, we're off on our own adventure again. Peace out. with some of the greatest lines ever, including the main Leatherface saying to his lackey, where's the cash? It's back in the trailer. Forget the cash. I was like, wait, but you're the one who cares about the cash? Why are we forgetting the cash? Okay, that's fine. Whatever. So then he jumps back in the Winnebago and he's like, they're like, okay, but only if you don't try to kill us. And for some reason they're like, cool, okay. There's like no reason why any of the things happen that they happen. They get into a house, an abandoned house, they then lock it down because they're like, mosquitoes are coming. And
skeeters are here.
There's more fending off of the mosquitoes. And then they realize that in the basement, there's like thousands of eggs. They then have to make a decision as to how to get rid of these mosquitoes once and for all. The answer is to blow up the house. Let's just have one reminder, though. The mosquitoes that have hatched are outside the house. So how this takes care of all the mosquitoes, I cannot tell you. They also never figure out that it was an alien, like venom, that caused them. They just think it was a meteor. They have no other explanation. They're like, yeah, when that meteor struck and it got real weird. I'm like, wait, but it was the alien blood? Okay. There's the worst parts about this film are the bad script, the bad writing, really bad acting, and the plot making zero sense. But Langley, if you're listening, this is your birthday gift from me to you. The special effects are amazing, and you could totally watch this movie for the special effects. Yeah, that and Steve Dixon, aka Meteor Expert, acting in every role or every scene while nobody else is. Thank you, sir. You brought the level up much higher than it otherwise would have been. Favorite moments: the animal expert poking multiple times the dead mosquitoes with sticks. That's like her expert way of dealing with the creatures.
It's dead. I poked it with a stick.
No, I already checked. You're good.
And one final little thing about it. It ends with a banging tune that's called Stinger Up Yours. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Is this like a rock and roll crunchy guitar kind of thing?
Kind of like a metally, like a metally 90s rock and rolly kind of thing.
Boy, like Creed.
Yeah. There's a lot of stealing from much better movies. Like, it's clear they're stealing from things like Alien. They even stole some from Jurassic Park a little bit.
Homage.
I'm sorry.
How did you watch this?
So I actually saw this streaming on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Great source.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of interested in this.
I would have a little scan through it. I think that
I want to see the effects at least.
the effects are so good.
I also love it when you review a film like this. It's got awful writing, but the acting is bad.
I just
Except
want
for one guy.
Except for one guy. He was really good. Leatherface, very over the top. I have to say, sir, you're better when you just wear someone else's skin and run around yelling at people.
Aren't we all?
That's kind of what he does, you know.
You know, it's his shtick. Don't want to take that away from him. It's the weird thing about this movie is it really feels like an early 80s B movie, and it's like 1994. And I can't wrap my head around that because I'm like, man, this is clearly stealing from Alien, but it's made before. Nope, it was not.
Well, so you're telling me the budget again was $200,000?
Yeah.
So that's a low budget
Super
film.
low.
Mid-90s, yeah.
Yeah, and it made almost $1 million somehow. So I'm like, wow, where did this play?
And why did they not work again?
What movie theater in the 90s? Because if you remember, that was basically the death knell of all the small theaters.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What chain is playing this film?
I don't know. I mean, but then again, I got these numbers from the internet. I just want to make that very clear.
Maybe it played in 3 theaters in New York, Chicago, LA, and Seattle. And
Well, the movie poster,
but
if you
then
look
did very
at
good business.
did well at each of them.
if you look at the poster, it looks very much like one of those things that would have flown through in theaters. It just feels like, oh yeah, that probably played at some point. So
Wow.
I don't know.
Cool. Well, should we keep with the theme, sort of?
Yeah,
let's do the same bug here.
Oh,
I'm so
I've
excited.
got a version of the same bug.
Multiples, because there's so many flying attack movie creatures.
That's right.
Just so you know, there's a lot, guys.
So I'm going to be talking about Mansquito.
The disease affects both young and old. Every bed is full and they're doing all they can.
He was scheduled to take part in our experimental drug testing program. But wait. What are you saying that you're experimenting on convicts?
Too little, and nothing happens. Too much, and who knows what you'd get.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
That explosion must
must have done something to him. I'm telling you, it must have altered his DNA somehow.
They're giving you a blood transfusion to try and slow this down.
He wants to mate Tom. That's why he's looking for me.
He's here! You don't know what you're up against! You can't go in there. Well, I'm going in. Hey! Mosquito!
No, he's not dead, Tom. It's not my blood. No, Ray!
Is it gone?
Crazy.
Which unfortunately
twist.
has now been changed to Mosquito Man. Which is a
Not
stupid
good.
change of the name.
Right. Mosquito sounds like an old William Castle film.
Man,
Yeah.
I'm gonna write an angry letter.
You can,
Right
but if you
now.
search anywhere for Mosquito, it's because it just changes it. It gives you the right movie. It just changes it to Mosquito Man on IMDb or Tomatoes or wherever you're looking for it, or on Amazon, which is where I think I watched it. 2005. No ratings from critics. 25 from the audience.
Oof.
Had a $5 million budget.
What?
This was this is sci-fi original, back when sci-fi was still trying to sort of make good B movies.
Huh.
Where, as opposed to now, they came up, well, Sharknado made us more money than anything else we've ever made. Let's just do crazy ass great titles
Oh my gosh.
and not give a shit what goes into the movie itself. Directed by Tibor Takacs.
Good name.
Oh.
Takacs.
Old man Takacs.
Well, the director of The Gate.
Oh.
And episodes of Sabrina the Teenage Witch and a strange number of Christmas movies.
It's always the Christmas guys.
A whole bunch of Hallmark Christmas films. Written by Michael Hurst, who wrote Room 6 and Ninja. I remember Room 6 vaguely, but with 3 story by credits.
Oh.
Kenneth Branagh, Ray Cannell, and Boz Davidson.
I like that you were about to say Davidson as
Davidson.
This is how bad you are at pronouncing even English names.
That's right. So we'll go right to the actors then.
Oh, no.
Corin Nemec from Sandshark and
Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
That's right. Stargate, the TV series. Stargate SG-1, who's a regular on that.
Okay.
Mosetta Vander, who was the star of the worst episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the Mantis one in season 1.
Oh, yeah.
Where the praying mantis attacks, a teacher becomes a praying mantis and attacks Xander.
There is no way that's the worst episode of Buffy.
Yeah,
All of season 7 is the worst episode of Buffy.
No, not even close.
Disagree with that also. That first season is rough.
I know. But it's only like 13 episodes long.
The puppet episode and
It's like Goosebumps, the series.
Yeah, which is not a good Buffy episode. That's good Goosebumps.
I was thinking
It's
it
not
gets
good
better.
Buffy.
I was thinking it does get better, but
Oh yeah, it definitely does. Buffy's a fantastic series.
it is.
But the first season is a little rough.
I feel like
Welcome
you're
to the Buffy podcast.
right? I feel like I've just bonded with you a little bit here. I'm like, oh my God, my entire high school years.
And also I had to list another movie she was in called Dickwad. Which I don't know, but
That's unfortunate.
Yes. And Matt Jordan from, you might remember this film because of Horror Find years ago, It Waits.
Yes, I do remember that.
And the Caveman sitcom. He's one of the cavemen.
Oh my God.
One of the Geico cavemen?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, that was a disaster.
And that guy, I'm sure, when he got that gig, he was probably calling up his mom. He's like, man, I have made it.
Got a regular sitcom based on these really popular characters and canceled.
The producers lied to him up right in center saying, oh yeah, buddy, yeah, this is going to be amazing. Trust me. 5 seasons at least.
So anyway, the story behind Mosquito is that this lady is the lead doctor developing some shit to combat mosquitoes. We'll just go with that. It's not really important to the entire story. It's just a vehicle to get to where, for some reason, they decide we're going to have a human experiment now. So they're bringing a prisoner in to be they bring in Matt Jordan to be the experimental person. But of course, he has a plan to get out, breaks out and shoots people and all this stuff, and then causes an explosion in which whatever this stuff is they're working on gets all over him and also gets a little bit on the doctor. Now, of course, within an hour, maybe, not of screen time, but an hour in his world, he turns completely into a giant mosquito.
That's amazing.
While she doesn't turn into a mosquito really at all. Kind of by the end of the movie, she's sort of transforming a little bit, but apparently the amount you get has a huge impact on how
mosquito-y you are.
How much you'll get, yes.
Oh my gosh.
The detective is this, I think they're exes. So, you got to have that little bit of tension.
Oh, sure.
Should we, I still want to help her. I still love her. And then of course I still want to get on top of her scene where he sees her getting out of the shower.
Oh my God.
Because like you do when your ex is over, you take a shower, you leave the door open.
Oh my
right?
God. Oh my God.
I mean, I do. They're super uncomfortable when they come home.
Oh God.
Kelly, is the door open? You shit.
Also, why are you here?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, if it isn't Little Miss Restraining Order.
So for some reason, we all know how hard it is to kill mosquitoes when you actually hit one, right? Your hand bounces off and shit. Apparently, when you grow to a giant mosquito, you become bulletproof.
Oh.
So he is very hard to kill.
That is like the opposite of the mosquitoes in my movie.
Just get taken out easy.
It's super easy. One got hit by a car and exploded.
A couple things that make this movie much better than especially your average Sci-Fi Channel movie now. Mm-hmm. The cast goes for it. These are all good actors. These are all experienced actors. They've done a lot of work, so they are good. Mm-hmm. Like Corin's been in a lot of good stuff, and a couple of my almost in he was in. He's in like 3 movies I watched trying to find a movie to talk about today. This one was his best, and the effects are a lot of practical effects, which I was surprised by because that ain't what sci-fi does anymore. The mosquito is sort of reminiscent of Pumpkinhead, not as well designed as Pumpkinhead, but it's that kind of a giant creature. So he's real most of the time. There's a few moments where they obviously had to go computer, like when he finally gets his wings and starts flying around, because, death from above. Mm-hmm. I'm watching this going, God, I hope at some point he at least gets wings. There's got to be at least one scene where he comes out of... And there's good production value. You can tell the $5 million was spent well on this film. It's too bad that they got away from that, because if they continued to be that, they might have pulled off and gone like into a Blumhouse or something like that, where they're making really good cheap films. Well, sometimes really good cheap films. This wonderful example of when the film is not quite as quality, where she's gone to the hospital because she's suffering greatly. She's laying in the bed describing what's going on, and every time she hits a dramatic line, thunder and lightning.
Yes.
3 times in one scene. It's not just once. Like he's turning into a mosquito.
Oh my God, that's so good.
And whoever wrote it needed to get a little bit of help in how to build suspense, at least for the end scene. Mm-hmm. It's really gross and violent at times, too. Really freaking bloody. And the mosquito is attracted to the doctor because he needs to mate. And she's pheromoning out or whatever, even though she doesn't look anything like a mosquito. So he's trying to get to her in the hospital. Mm-hmm. So the hospital starts out with, send in the SWAT team.
Oh, my God.
Okay. So they wipe out all the SWAT team. The next scene is 3 hospital guards. Well, they're not going to stand a chance. You're escalating down.
Oh, no.
But, of course, then the guy calls for armor-piercing bullets, but none of the SWAT guys got that message, apparently, because none of them had him. But, of course, the hero has his big gun, which has the grenade launcher underneath it, that kind of macho gun that you got to have in these movies. And he notices that the mosquito is standing next to oxygen. He's going to shoot the oxygen tanks. Huge explosion.
Ooh.
Of which he sort of kind of survives, but the mosquito seems just fine.
Oh my God.
Oh, this is weird. But
so fire doesn't kill yours either.
No, not really.
Oh my God.
Overall, it's a lot of fun movie, but for the kind of movies that involve mosquitoes,
sure,
it's right at the top of the list.
Did it feel like they were at all ripping off The Fly or anything like that?
There's some Fly elements in that, except he doesn't really Brundle fly it. You don't see. He just automatically knows how to eat. Like he goes to his ex-girlfriends or something like that. thunk, sticks her in the head and sucks blood out of her. So it's like
perfect.
I was sure that there was a time there in the early 90s that Roger Corman was involved with several Sci-Fi Channel originals, and they did something called The Sea Witch, and I thought for sure this was one of them, but then I just looked it up on IMDb, and his name is not listed anywhere in the credits, so I guess it could not have been part of that.
Yeah, this is early 2000s. This was 2005.
Oh, wow, okay.
I think the one you're talking about, was that the Showtime series that they did?
No, it was the Sci-Fi Channel,
okay.
and he had some kind of thing where every Friday night they were releasing I can't remember if it was Roger Corman Presents or something like that, and I think it was a series of 6 movies that were not very good, but had some interesting effects.
They were Roger
like
Corman,
that. Yeah.
Maybe not good, but know how to kind of entertain.
Right.
That's actually a lot what this film is too. It's not necessarily that great, but it hits the right notes often enough that it's a fun watch that kept me interested the whole time. And when it came to this subject, I was happy with that.
It's like, we made it.
That's right. I mean, one of the movies I watched that I'm not going to go into detail with because it's well enough known was that I was surprised at how bad it was The Swarm.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
The Irwin Allen movie. I was like, and it's also like one of those 3 hours opuses. I'm like, is anything ever going to happen in this goddamn movie?
I saw that in the theaters as a kid, and I remember being, just entranced with it. And so I thought that was going to be my choice. And then I watched like the first 10 minutes, and I was like, oh boy.
Yeah. It's the idea of drama between Michael Caine and the general, where it's like, "Hi, how you doing?" "I know it's fine." It's like, Jesus, give yourself a build-up to argue about. I'm just gonna yell. There's like 4 scenes like that. It's like, anyways, what did you have, sir?
Well, there's definitely a theme going on here, and the way we have progressed is perfect because you started off with mosquitoes, and you went to a man mosquito, and it was something that there was some kind of experimental fluid, right?
Yes.
The film I chose is called Stung.
No joke. Do you want to hear it?
Not really.
What is a bee's favorite movie?
No idea.
Wow. This place is a piece.
You'll see it has its charms.
Hey there. Put you in charge, huh? You got much experience?
Yeah, I'm good at serving drinks. I'm good at consuming alcohol, so really I'm overqualified for the job.
He likes you.
Yeah, no. I'm pretty sure I'd rather jump off a cliff. Hey, Mr. Mayor, everything okay?
Yeah, this party needs an autopsy.
Did you see that? There are these massive wasps flying around here. You should be careful. Ow! They're like this. They're huge. Avoid everything here. It's bad.
Oh, poor baby.
Thank you all for coming. And for leaving the kids at home.
Help! I think something's bit in.
Get inside right now!
Oh, gosh.
What the hell just happened? Those bees.
They're not bees. Those are wasps.
Bees, wasps. How the hell can all of this be happening?
How do I know when you'll be back?
You don't.
Who did it?
Ooh.
Stung.
Stung? I was like, what is with the G there?
It's a hard
Does it have
G.
2 G's at the end?
Stung. I don't know. My name's Kelly Young. So it's called Stung, directed by Benny Diaz. This was the only feature film he has directed, and his other credits are a bunch of short films. It was written by Adam Aresti. This is the only feature film he has written, and the rest of his credits are short films.
You're setting us up for success.
Well, I've
Rotten
seen this too, so I'm curious your thoughts on it. Yeah.
Okay, Rotten Tomatoes, the critics give it 53%, and for some reason, Rotten Tomatoes doesn't like this movie, and so they won't give me any other information on it. There's no audience score, anything like that. It's very strange. Had a budget of $2.5 million, box office of $71,000.
Oh.
I knew you weren't going to say 71 million there. I was like, no, there's no way that made $71 million. Ouch.
I'm guessing that's because it was a film festival release and then went straight to video or something like that. It stars Matt O'Leary, who was one of the young sons in Frailty. He was in the movie Skyscraper with The Rock.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he's got a ton of other credits, film and TV.
Is he a regular on Agents?
Yeah, he was on for, I don't remember what season. I didn't write it down.
Oh, but he was on a bunch.
Yeah. Jessica Cook is the female lead. She hasn't been in a lot, but she's been in some TV series that are in production right now, and it looks like it's going to be a big series, so I think that she'll be okay. It's called Job Guys, whatever that is. Yeah. And it also stars Lance Henriksen.
Hey.
Oh, yes.
Looking very, very old and like he just needed a paycheck.
Oh.
So this
That's
one,
how he always looks in movies now.
now it is, unfortunately. Jeez, I just watched this movie called Derailed, you guys. Boy, pass.
Oh.
I watched it because of, I think it was Your Aquatic Features or something like that, or water-based lube movies.
Yeah.
Well, this will be good, and it was not. Anyway, back to this movie.
Yes.
So, Matt O'Leary and Jessica Cook play two catering staffers who have been hired for this very hoity-toity garden party at a remote country villa, I guess you would call it, kind of like state New York. Prior to them getting there, the landscapers knock over this illegal plant fertilizer.
Oh.
It goes into the ground and it makes its way into a wasp nest.
Oh.
Now, I don't know how illegal this plant fertilizer is, but I'm guessing it's very illegal since it mutates the wasp into 7-foot-tall flying predators.
That's some... can you imagine what that would do on grass, though?
Well, that must be why all of her flowers and everything look so lovely.
Beautiful. Lush.
Wow, it's amazing rows. It's 12 feet across.
So this movie, if you couldn't guess, is a bit of a horror comedy. And I think that it straddles the line pretty well. There are some funny moments, but there are also some pretty cool horror moments because the wasps are pretty great looking.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
sometimes.
They look, for what it is, for the movie it is, I think they look pretty good more often than not.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's all digital, so we're not getting your awesome effects, Vanessa. But sometimes they do look pretty good. And in their close shots with, struggling with a wasp that is obviously a practical effect.
Puppet.
Puppet wasp.
And it looks pretty good.
Puppet wasp.
So there's a lot of scenes when the wasps finally show up where all these people dressed in very nice tuxes and gowns and all this stuff are suddenly being attacked by just swarms of these giant wasps. And the attacking wasp stingers through bodies and stuff like that, surprisingly gory and fun. They do this one thing that I'm not sure really tracks. I'm guessing this fertilizer also mutates them in a different way because the wasps, when they sting you, also impregnate you with other wasps.
With like big ones or normal wasps?
Well, I'm guessing baby wasps at first, but when it finally explodes out of your body, it's a full-grown 7-foot-tall wasp thing.
Do the people start to become the shape of the inner wasp or something?
They do get kind of waspy characteristics. And I'm not talking white Anglo-Saxon because they're already that.
Right.
They do get kind of bug-eyed looks before they suddenly explode. And they do explode when these things come out of them. And
it's really not just like thousands of little bees. It's one giant bee.
Which I think thousands of little bees would have been creepier.
It'd be crazy, yeah.
But this is very much a silly movie. And so they were just like...
Let's have fun.
Right. It's got almost you tell me, kind of an Evil Dead 2 feel to it. Slapsticky in parts.
Yeah, it's got more horror element
than
Evil Dead 2, but when it goes slapsticky, definitely.
The fun part is the roles are reversed. You're expecting the guy to become kind of an Ash character in this, and instead it's the female lead who becomes the Ash character, and she starts kicking ass through this movie. Lance is in it a minimum amount of time for him to get whatever his day rate is and get out. Yep. At one point, then, our male lead is captured and brought to the wasp nest, and our female lead has to bust in Ash style and start kicking ass on all these wasps to rescue him, which I thought was a really nice touch.
Yeah.
It's silly, but I thought it was super entertaining. I would even say a good film. I'm not sure why it only got the 53%, except for maybe it's that horror comedy, and I don't think critics really know how to deal with that.
I think it was a pretty successful film. It was a little weird how everybody gets wiped out real quick except for a few.
Yes.
And they managed to hang on quite well for quite a long
Yes.
time. I was like, yeah, I remember watching it. It was fun. It's definitely worth seeing.
I had taken the time to look at a couple other movies to see movies that I hadn't seen before, like a movie called Bats with an upside down A in the title.
Is that Lou Diamond Phillips' film?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
It was bad.
I looked at that one too, and I think I've seen it before, so I watched the trailer and go, oh, yeah.
Oh, boy, fuck, yes. I only made it about 15 minutes in, and I was like, this is not going to be my pick. So I went back to Stung. I really enjoyed it on a second viewing. I thought the gore was plentiful.
Yes, it is.
And so one of the things that I found out is that it won Best Film, or Best International Film, from the Fantaspola International Fantastic Film Festival.
Oh, really?
Why'd you say Fantaspola?
I could not find any other information on Fantaspola.
Spanish one? No. There is a big one in Spain.
There's a huge one. That's
Cinema Fantastique or something like that.
Sitges.
Yeah, that's more of a straight horror festival.
There was something that sounded, I don't know. I feel like I've heard of that festival before.
Yeah.
I had not heard of it, and it was the only award it won, which kind of surprised me because if it's going to tour those kind of film festivals, you think it would be picking up awards at the smaller horror film festivals because it's very well made. It looks great. Mm-hmm. The acting is really strong, keeping in mind that everybody knows what kind of movie they're in. And so there's some overacting and some silliness, but I think it's all on purpose.
Right. It's not Tara Reid in Sharknado where she doesn't know what she's doing. Right. It's just trying real hard and failing.
Yeah.
This is, what's his name from 90210 in Sharknado, who knew exactly what he was in.
Ian Ziering.
And played it perfectly.
Ian somebody or another. Yeah.
Ian.
He pronounces his name Ian.
Of course he does.
Yes. Blonde.
So I do have one follow-up question because we had such differing responses in our films to both bullets and fire. How did the bees in your film fare?
There is a lot of fire going on, but keep in mind these guys are using blunt objects mostly to take care of these.
Excellent.
I think that's how a horror film has to be done. Bullets have always bothered me in a horror film. I like that you have to get in there and get messy. Yeah. The girl is covered in bee gore by the end of the film.
Oh my God.
There's a very odd ending scene where they've made it through and they're in the back of an ambulance that's being driven away and they decide to start having sex in the ambulance.
Oh my God.
They are covered in gore and they don't like each other. It's one of those things where they end up falling in love with each other through this insane event and they start having sex and everything. And then the wasps come and I think that they die at the end.
Oh, great.
It's left unclear.
Oh my God.
But everybody else that survived gets killed right at the end. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert.
Wow. The bees win.
Well, alrighty then.
Yeah, so
nice.
I can't wait to check out both of your movies. Those both sound like fun.
They're worth checking out.
At least scan through them and see some of the effects.
Yeah,
I think we almost went in order in this one.
Yeah.
As far as quality of films, like yours sounds like you least. I kind of liked yours, and you liked yours the most.
I did like mine quite a bit.
I think so. I definitely think so. Like mine, I don't know if I would recommend for somebody to sit through the whole thing, honestly. But your guys' sound like it might be worth it.
And I know you have an unfavorable reaction to bees and wasps. What's the story there? Are you allergic or?
I have been terrified of wasps my whole life. I think when I was a kid, I got stung by a bee, and then I had a bee stuck in my bike helmet at one point, and that was not fun. Jesus, and in my hair, yeah,
that's terrifying.
That was not great. But I used to have nightmares like for years, every night of wasps. Yeah.
Wow,
And
that's specific. I wonder what that says about whatever's going on in that fucked up brain.
I know. It is pretty fucked up. But
Tonight on a very special Strange Eons.
So I live in a log cabin, and one of the things that happens is when you are warming your house with firewood, in the firewood piles, bees crawl in, wasps especially crawl in to on the log and fall asleep, and they're woken up by like warmth,
flames.
So when you have wood next to the fireplace waiting to go in until that wood is burned up, they wake up and then they start flying around your house, and they are so mad because it's wintertime and they're starving and everything isn't what they thought it was going to be. And so you have this like angry wasp. Finally, in one of my horrible nightmares, I killed one. And after that, I haven't been that scared of them.
Well, interesting.
Nice.
Yeah. So there you go. A little bit of psychology for you guys out there.
All right, Vanessa, I didn't ask for your life story. Eric,
I know.
You are going to be choosing the next subgenre.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going with, we've watched a lot of tough ones over the last few weeks, so I think I'm going with one that there are lots of great options for.
Ooh.
And that would be serial killers.
Okay.
Not slasher films, not Freddy or Jason or anybody
to be clear,
like that.
Michael Myers is like the most prolific serial killer of all time, and you're saying he is not allowed.
No. More like Silence of the Lambs or Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer or something along those lines, Psycho.
Okay.
Well, okay, that means that we are at the end of the episode. Thank you guys so much for all of your lovely letters. Keep those 5-star reviews coming in.
Yep.
And
challenge me.
Understand that you can also leave us a 4-star review or a 1-star review.
Yeah,
we appreciate all of them. But the 5-star reviews are the ones that Eric is going to take a film
Lead a
recommendation
5-star review
from.
with a comment that includes what movie you want to torture me with or you love and we haven't talked about and you'd love to hear us talk about it because you like it so much. I like that too.
And which site should we leave? They should.
It's always iTunes.
Always iTunes. Okay.
Apple Podcasts.
Oh, that's right. It's Apple Podcasts now, isn't it? Yep.
iTunes no longer exists.
But I also want to thank Sean O'Keefe, who put a recommendation on the Facebook page to combat the not recommended that we got. And I really appreciate that, Sean. You rock. The response that I gave to the lady who gave us the not recommend, I noticed that she responded to that in the form of a laugh icon. So I think that she gets the joke.
Oh, cool.
She doesn't get the joke enough to take off her not recommended, but
It's okay. I think if people, if I want to see why something isn't recommended, I usually read up on it. So they're going to see that we're lovely people.
Well, you are.
No, I mean, you are because you wrote it. I'm just here for the rad.
All right, guys.
For the free water.
That is the end. We will see you next week with serial killers. Our show is recorded somewhere high above Naval Station Everett at the nexus of all realities and is engineered and produced by Eric Morgret. Our theme music is Strange Eons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find Strange Eons Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and wherever fine podcasts are found.